American Family Association through the combined federal campaign. By designating a monthly payroll deduction using 12037, you help AFA continue to fight for your family. So when you complete your CFC form, remember, AFA's number is 12037. And thank you for your help.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. The Supreme Court ruling in favor of President Trump's plans to fire around 1,400 employees at the Federal Education Department. Lydia Hu reports.
The Department of Education can now move forward with terminating roughly 1,400 federal employees. This comes after Education Secretary Linda McMahon terminated roughly half of the department's workforce back in March as part of the Trump administration's effort to return education to the states. Education groups sued shortly after. A lower district court judge in Massachusetts ordered that the laid-off workers be reinstated, but the three liberal justices dissented in this opinion from the Supreme Court. Justice Sotomayor writing this for them, quote, "This decision is indefensible. It hands the executive the power to repeal statutes by firing all those necessary to carry them out."
Meanwhile, more states are joining a lawsuit against the Trump administration, demanding it release billions in federal funding originally intended for education matters.
The governors in both Kentucky and North Carolina are the latest to join a multi-state lawsuit against the Trump administration, demanding the U.S. Department of Education spend nearly $7 billion on state education programs as originally appropriated by Congress. Much of the funds were due to be dispersed at the beginning of this month. Kentucky was to receive $96 million, and Governor Andy Beshear says not receiving that money will force local districts to cut spending. The lawsuit now includes 24 states and the District of Columbia. Eben Brown, Fox News.
Florida Congresswoman Maria Salazar is planning to introduce a bill on the House floor today that she says will give migrants working in the U.S. the opportunity to stay. The Republican lawmaker explaining the bill does not provide a path for citizenship, but will allow those working and living in the U.S. the opportunity to continue doing so.
There is another mass of people who most of them are Hispanics who have been here for more than 5 years. They have been contributing to the economy, who do not have a criminal record. And those people are the ones who deserve some type of dignity. Bring them out of the shadows, make them pay a fine for 7 years. That is billions of dollars to the Treasury. Make them give us 1% of their salary over 7 years. No federal programs, no health insurance.
Inflation ticked up slightly for the month of June.
The Consumer Price Index rose 0.3% in June from May, up just 0.2 for core CPI, excluding food and energy. For the year ending in June, the CPI was up 2.7% and the core reading up 2.9%. Though some of the readings are slightly higher than previous CPI reports, the numbers matched or were not as severe as economists were predicting. Inflation measured by the CPI rose to 9.1% in June of 2022, the highest level in almost 41 years. The Federal Reserve meets at the end of this month, but most economists do not expect an interest rate cut that soon. Ginny Cosola, Fox News.
And finally, Pennsylvania Democrats have done a legislative sleight of hand that delays passage of a women's protection bill.
Senate Bill 9 passed the Senate back in March, but the House Committee on Education has refused to hold a vote. Now Democrats have referred the bill to yet another committee, further delaying a vote on the measure. Brad Dacus of the Pacific Justice Institute.
Some members of the House put up a roadblock trying to prevent this from getting to the floor for a vote. We're optimistic that the discharge petition will allow this to be brought up out of committee and allowed to be voted on up or down by all the members of the state house.
Dacus is confident the bill will eventually be passed and that Governor Josh Shapiro will sign the legislation into law.
Governor Shapiro is a sharp, smart politician, and I think he knows that if he decides to run for president in 2028, a veto of legislation like this would definitely be a disservice for his political ambitions.
Republican Representative Barb Gleam filed a discharge petition to force SB 9's consideration in the House. I'm Bob Kellogg.
More news online at AFN.net and the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty Pugh.
If we lose this cultural war, we're going to have a hedonistic, humanistic society.
Discover the story of the culture warrior Don Wildman and how he went head-to-head with Hollywood, Playboy, the homosexual agenda, and the Disney empire. The movement Don started paved the way for Christians to boldly stand for truth and righteousness in a hostile culture. Watch Culture Warrior today for free. Visit culturewarrior.movie.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for joining us here on AFR. It's Tuesday, July the 15th, 2025. And just a few more weeks till football season starts. And the attitudes of a lot of people will change then.
Will improve
greatly until about the third week in the season. And then we'll revert back to depression.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Not all of us. Good morning, Ed Battagliano.
Hey, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Wesley Wildman.
Good morning, some of us, not me,
right,
are Alabama fans. So.
Right. Well,
you get the idea.
Chris Woodward. Good morning, Chris. Wesley. To your point, Cole.
Ohio State fans.
Cole, our videographer in there, who keeps us stringing,
makes us look good.
Cole Green. How you doing, Cole? Good morning to you.
He's waving.
Nobody can see him. He's off camera. He gets no glory in his job, except he's wearing his Ohio State hat today. And so I walked by and I saw him wearing his Ohio State, and so I thought, you're looking forward to college football season because you know going in, you might lose one game. You might lose one game.
And call
Michigan.
it a losing season.
So otherwise, you're just going to thrash everybody for the most part.
So
while other fans in the college football world go, I just hope my team,
It's over 500.
It was over 500.
And we get a bowl game.
Yes.
Yeah,
So it must be nice to be born an Ohio State or an Alabama or a Georgia fan.
Yeah, that's the school I was really looking forward to because Alabama, they're down to losing 2 games now, so they're out.
Right.
I don't know what's wrong with the world. Alabama lost 3 games last year.
But was it?
I hate it. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Oh, it hurts your feelings. Yeah.
Oh, I mourned with them. Let me tell you.
Okay.
The sarcasm.
Yeah, the gloom and doom.
Sarcasm is rich with this one.
All right. So anyway, but hey, college football season will be here, and for those fans who love it like we do here, it can't get here soon enough.
Does it start in August? Late August or something?
Usually late August. They start with
a couple of big games.
A couple of games, that's right.
And then
11 a.m. kickoffs in 1,000-degree heat.
Yes. Yeah. Labor Day is the kickoff for most of the
Labor Day
weekend.
And then about a month after the college football season starts, then my mood improves because
hockey
season.
That's right.
Preseason starts.
That's right. All right, so we hope you're having a good morning, and we welcome you to our program. Today's issues, a lot to talk about today, including our visit with Dr. Frank Turek coming up in just a few moments here on the program. I tell you what. Do we want to set this up now or wait till Dr. Frank gets on? I'm talking about the Chip and Joanna Gaines story. You want to talk about it right now?
Well, we can set it up. We can set it up now so that folks, and then we can just ask Frank what he thinks about it.
Okay. Well, Chip and Joanna Gaines, of course, beloved by millions across America for their shows on HGTV, and they built their following there, and then didn't they buy a network or something like that, or
created one? I'm not sure how.
Magnolia Network.
The Magnolia Network. So they did that, and they've been. I haven't seen much of their programming since they left HGTV because
I don't particularly care to watch other people build their dream house.
Yeah, I know. Listen, human envy is a strong thing.
Or some of these programs where they go, We want to buy or build our vacation home, and our budget is $1 million for their vacation home.
That's where you got to start on most of these shows.
Yeah.
In California, you can get a shed for $1 million.
Yeah.
And I'm going, who lives there?
If you can get approval from your local HOA or get a permit from the city.
All right, so the situation is the Gaines, Chip and Joanna Gaines, they're in the news now for something. What is that, Chris?
Well, they have a new show. It's called Back to the Frontier, and it's an HBO Max project in conjunction with their Magnolia Network. And this, the premise of this show.
Yeah, what's it called?
Back to the Frontier. The premise of the show is it's taking families to live in the ways that people did in the late 1800s. So it's a reality show, Back to the Frontier, allowing families to live like people did in the late 1800s.
I'm sorry to interrupt you again. An 1800s reality show?
It's a reality show set in the lifestyle of somebody in the 1800s.
So they have to turn in all their phones and whatnot. They have to dress like it. They have to eat like it. There's no showers.
How much people are giggling right now, but yes.
Okay, so
this
I'll try not
is
to
one of
interrupt.
those. It's probably going to have to be. You're going to have to see it
to understand it.
It.
Okay, so to reset, just excuse me for interrupting. It's rare, but so Back to the Frontier is the name of the show.
Yes,
it's an HBO
Max
Cinemax, right?
HBO.
It's just
show that the Gaines are responsible for creating. So it's not on the Magnolia Network or HGTV. This is a entertainment program like a movie or something,
right?
A series.
Yes.
Okay, I got you. So go ahead.
Okay, so the controversy regarding this is one of the so-called families featured on the show is a homosexual couple with children. And that, of course, is a concern with a lot of people, namely Christians, because Chip and Joanna are professed Christians. And Christian fans of this couple that have followed them for years are upset with them because they are allowing homosexuals and their children to compete on this show.
Well, in fairness to Chip and Joanna Gaines on this one, gay marriage and raising children was big in the 1880s.
That's true.
Okay, that was all the rage. If you read about it post-Civil War, there was about a 10-year period there where all of America was doing gay weddings,
posters,
and they were, adopted. It was a big thing. So it was a reality.
Yeah,
the reality show.
Yes.
Okay, so is Frank on? Frank, good morning to you, Frank.
Good morning,
Frank Turek. We're setting this up, and then you can be unleashed here in a moment, okay?
Unleash Frank.
You hearing me?
I think you knocked that out of the park, Tim. I don't think there's any controversy here because, that was such a big thing back 150
it was a big thing.
Years ago.
So we got this situation where the Chip and Joanna Gaines are creating a special, TV special, Back to the Frontier, setting in the 1880s, and it's going to be
three families.
So they've announced that one of the three families is two men.
Yes.
Are they married?
Well,
they couldn't get married back then, so they were shacked up.
They're a couple at least.
No, they're married now. This homosexual couple's from Dallas.
All right.
So the controversy over this.
I know why you're confused. I can explain
because I haven't seen it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the controversy. So these are three families that are modern, and they're forced to live as if they were in
surviving on an island or trying to survive in the 1880s.
I'm tracking with you now. Okay, go ahead.
So the controversy here is that this show was promoted by Magnolia Network and the Gaines. They said that this show is going to be family. The whole family can sit around and watch this together. Well, they got called out for the fact that one of those families is headed by a homosexual couple, and this is clearly contrary to the biblical teachings on human sexuality, marriage, and family. And now, Chris, do you have the response once this started to heat up? The response from Chip, who apparently is good at building homes and repairing homes, but not too good on social media because he basically doubled down with a social media post that was pretty hard to understand.
Yes, he's apparently good at burning bridges here.
Let's just read what. So he was asked by Fox News, I guess it was.
Correct.
What?
He posted stuff on social media that they reported.
Okay. So he got criticized and he issued a statement, or it wasn't a statement,
Yes.
It was a text. Go ahead.
So he responded on social media on Sunday saying this, quote, "We should be talking and asking questions, listening, maybe even learning," he told critics. "Too much to ask of modern American Christian culture. Judge first, understand later / never." He went on to say that it's a sad Sunday when non-believers have never been confronted with hate or vitriol until they are introduced to a modern American Christian. He added with a heartbreak emoji. And then he went on to keep saying how we're judging and not.
That's a bunch of gobbledygook. Is there anything clear?
That's what he said. I'm
That's
reading
it.
from his post.
Well, let's let Dr. Frank Turek
interpret that gobbledygook.
Who's host of I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist, heard Saturday at 9 a.m. Central Time on American Family Radio, and Sunday at 4 p.m. Central Time. Frank, are you satisfied with Chip's explanation?
No. I mean,
what is he trying to say there?
Well, he's basically trying to say we should not judge when, in fact, that's a judgment. Jesus didn't say don't judge. He said judge not lest you be judged. By the same standard you judge others, you'll be judged by that standard. So before you try and take the speck out of your own eye, you hypocrite, notice that's a judgment.
Right.
You hypocrite. Or before you try and take the speck out of your brother's eye, you hypocrite, take the log out of your own eye first. Then you'll be better able to help your brother. So he's not telling us not to judge. He's telling us how to judge. He's telling us to take the speck out of our brother's eye.
Right.
That involves making a judgment. It would be completely ridiculous to say don't make judgments. Number one, it's a judgment itself. Number two, we'd be dead already if we didn't make judgments. Mm-hmm. And Jesus also said in John 7:24, he said, stop judging by mere appearances and make a right judgment. So Chip Gaines is telling people we ought not judge, and he's judging people for judging. When in fact, all we're doing is we're just evaluating what the scriptures have already said about this issue. He's ignoring it, and he thinks that any opposition to immoral behavior is hate, which is completely ridiculous. It's not hate. You're loving people when you're opposing behavior that's immoral. You're not hating them.
Well, Frank, Christians for the last 5, 10, 15 years have fallen under tremendous pressure to go along with the homosexual movement. And this seems to be the one carve-out that Christians who claim to believe the Bible, they will carve out this exception to the clear teachings of Scripture. I guarantee, I'm just going to ask you for your opinion. Do you think Chip and Joanna Gaines would have a couple of white supremacists who are married and they have a family and they're racist, but Chip,
that's the real world.
Chip is going to text people who are critical of that and say, "Oh, you shouldn't judge. We should, listen first to understand. Let's dialogue with these people." They wouldn't do that. I don't guess. You can feel free to disagree. Well, why the carve out for homosexuality?
Well, because we misunderstand what love is. We think love means approval. Love does not mean approval. By the way, every parent knows this. If you approve of everything your 13-year-old wants to do, are you loving? No. No, you're enabling evil if you approve of everything your 13-year-old wants to do. And the same thing is true with any issue. If you're approving of behavior that we know is sinful, you're not loving, you're an enabler. You're somebody who is actually hating the person because you're not standing for the truth that would help the person. As Thomas Sowell famously said, he said, when you want to help people, you tell them the truth. When you want to help yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. Mm-hmm. And what Chip Gaines is doing, now he may be confused about this. I don't know if this is intentional. I don't know if obviously he hasn't really thought this through. I mean, he's a very likable guy, as is his wife, likable show and everything. But being likable is no excuse for having bad theology and therefore then enabling people and affirming people to go down a road that's harmful to them and harmful of others. So we're calling them out here and saying, hey, rethink this, please. You don't love people by telling them what they want to hear. You love people by telling them what they need to hear. And by the way, that's what got Jesus crucified.
Well,
because he told them what they needed to hear, not what they wanted to hear.
This is Wesley here. We've had just a major culture shift in the last 3 to 5 years on the issue of sexuality. We're having a major shift back to a lot more common sense, and it had to do with people being forced to think about it as it relates to the transgender movement because men and women's sports, and then the ripple effect. And so people are starting to think about it. And in addition to that, the phrase of don't hate, or just as a way of confronting someone who disagrees with you, that had its heyday when I was growing up. That was the heyday for saying that was shut down all disagreement and argument by saying what you're doing is hateful. Well, after so many years of hearing that, we've come full circle to the point where my generation now and others, pretty much the whole atmosphere of America, can finally reach a point where we're like, okay, well, we may disagree, but I'm not buying this anymore, that I'm having to defend myself as a hater or not a hater just because you say so. So now that we're past all of that, I feel like I'm just shocked that he's reverting back to that old meaning 10 years ago of being accused of being a hater just because he doesn't have a gay couple on his TV show. Like, I don't understand. I feel like we're going back in time lapse. We should be way past this, should we not?
Well, yeah, I think you're right, Wesley. It's a good insight that, 5 years ago, that is the way people tended to think. But that mind virus hasn't completely been eradicated. People still think that if you oppose someone's sexual behavior, somehow you're hating them. Which is bizarre.
It
when
is
you really
bizarre.
Think about it.
No.
Yeah.
It's supposed to shut down the argument.
Right.
End of argument. You're a hater.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
End of argument. Not going to talk about this anymore because you're a hater. All right. So just to reset real quick, and this pains a lot of people who are fans of theirs.
Yeah. What's the Christian version of being Bud Lighted? Because that's what's about to happen.
Bud Lights. Well, here's what's mystifying. I don't know. Chip and Joanna Gaines obviously are okay with two men marrying. Okay, let's just say it like it is.
And it's not just marrying. Now, they got their kids that they have, these two Dallas dads. They have, I think, 2 kids.
That's right, 2 boys.
The gay couple.
This homosexual couple. And I'm looking at a story on the Federalist about this. It says that this couple bought their sons via purchased eggs and rented wombs. Mm-hmm. Because obviously 2 men cannot have children. So they went through the IVF, the in vitro fertilization process, and basically rented 2 women's wombs so that these implanted embryos, fertilized embryos, could then come to full gestation.
Yeah.
So that adds to the unnaturalness of this with these 2 men.
Okay, so again, but I guess the most, quote, disappointing, and this is what Reverend Franklin Graham said about this situation, is that this is the Magnolia Network.
Yes.
Chip Gaines responds to backlash after Magnolia Network reality show features same-sex men. So is this Magnolia Network or is this HBO?
Okay, HBO is carrying it. It's a Magnolia Network product.
I got you.
They're hand in hand.
So the point is that Chip and Joanna Gaines would have had control over this.
Yes. 100%.
Right. This isn't an outside. This isn't like an HGTV where they just are employees of, and they must do what they're told or lose their jobs. This is them initiating this homosexual couple.
They thought this was a good idea.
Yeah, and what's another thing that's problematic here is that the world we live in of cancel culture, for a Christian to be able to own its own network, that should be the prime goal for a lot of people, because then you should be immune to being able to be forced
to do something.
Because we work in a Christian environment.
Yeah.
But I've put myself the best I can in another person's shoes who's making a living for their family, and they're being manipulated to do to not say a certain thing in order to keep their job so they can provide out in the public workforce. Okay.
Because it's a secular
company. Okay. However, this is not even. This is not a debate, should not even be a debate. Like, for example, the Benham brothers, okay?
Right.
They said they could have easily not said anything and then, okay, keep your job, make a lot of money. But they say, you know what, we're not going to pull down a tweet about God's definition of marriage. We're not going to pull it down. And if we get fired, we get fired.
And they got fired. HGTV fired them.
Right. But on the other hand, if they had not, I don't know if I would have just canceled them altogether.
Right.
You know, if they would have pulled it down.
Right.
You know, I would have been disappointed. But I don't know if I'd. But this is not even the case. This is a Christian owning their own network.
That's a good
I mean, think about that for a second.
Well, again, I didn't like his response. Chip Gaines' response is, if you don't agree with me, you're a hater. Yeah. Am I reading that wrong?
I hate that.
Yep.
You hate that? Anyway, hey, listen, you know what? Hey, this is what Lauren Daigle, the singer, did a couple, 3 years ago. The very popular Christian singer, she was asked about a gay marriage, a homosexuality, and she said, I don't know.
Right. She did.
I'm
not God.
I'm not God. I don't know. If somebody knows, let me know.
Yeah.
And I'm going like,
it's in the Bible.
So you haven't read Romans 1.
She wouldn't say that about any other issue.
No. Listen, here's what happens with these folks, and I understand there's pressure.
Sure.
Okay, in the business world, you get involved in the entertainment industry, even in the Christian entertainment industry, you must bow the knee to the LGBTQ, or you're not going anywhere. For a lot of them.
Right.
For a lot of them. And so I think, and also they are around people who are all the in the entertainment industry. Almost all of them are pro LGBTQ pride and all this. And so if you dare say, no, I don't agree with that, well, you're going to be in trouble with that that crowd. You know what I'm saying?
And I've watched clips of this before, and they have normalized in the TV series. In the previews, they've normalized homosexual marriage. What they're doing
for this show.
Yes, the two guys are they're always laughing.
Oh yeah.
They're always getting
very happy.
I mean, they're normalizing that on their network.
Mm-hmm. Well, we do have Frank on. Frank, you have any other things you want to add?
Well, I was going to add the fact that regardless of this situation here, every same-sex couple denies their child either a mother or a father.
Right.
And mothers and fathers are different, as we all know, but many deny. So this so-called couple is denying their child a mother by what they're doing. I mean, you can leave aside the whole marriage issue. Marriage is obviously between a man and a woman. Civilization depends on that. But the whole idea that they're adopting these boys and neglecting, whether you said what, it was in vitro, Ed? Something like that?
Well, I'm guessing, according to this article in the Federalist, that it says they bought their sons via purchased eggs and rented wombs. That it would have to be, unless they adopted from somebody else. But this
rented wombs, that just sounds so weird.
Well,
what is that?
Well, it's how you with an in vitro fertilization.
Yes.
Not always. Sometimes with in vitro fertilization, a couple, male female, will you implant the fertilized egg into the woman, the wife, the mother.
Yeah.
I'm getting
I know
lost
I know what it means. I was just being sarcastic.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, you
Okay.
don't need. I don't need that. I mean, I appreciate
You don't
you,
need that
brother, but
explanation.
I'm just.
You don't need a birds and a bees kind
I
of
asked you a question and you answered it, but I was being rhetorical.
Hey, we need to have Frank back sometime.
Well, he's going to stay right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because
we have a very important
Frank,
question.
Are you going to stay with us after the break?
I'm hanging with you guys.
Because if you can't, you're a hater.
That's right, I'm a hater. If I
if
I don't
you
agree
can't
with
stay
Tim,
with us, then you're a hater, man.
let's just make it a rule. Anybody that agrees with Tim is a hater.
A hater.
There you go.
It's sad. sad, all this hate in the Christian
Oh,
world.
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Oozing.
We'll be back momentarily with more of today's issues here on AFR. Stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
Then they seized him and led him away, bringing him unto the high priest's house. Peter followed at a distance. And when they had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard and sat down together, Peter sat among them. After Jesus was arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was carried to the house of Joseph Caiaphas. Caiaphas was the high priest that year, although it was his father-in-law Annas who had the real power. In all probability, the party walked up a flight of steps in the southern part of Jerusalem to reach the house of Caiaphas. Some steps have been excavated which led to the spot where many believe the house of Caiaphas stood. It is possible to walk those very steps today. The Church of St. Peter in Gallicanto, which means cockcrow, is a lovely little church building constructed by the Augustinian fathers on the site where they accept as that of the house of Caiaphas. The church gets its name from the fact that Peter denied he knew Jesus 3 times in the courtyard before the 3 a.m. hour, the time of the cockcrow. In the life of Jesus, we have some hours between 3 o'clock in the morning and about 6 o'clock in the morning, during which we don't know what happened to him. A visitor to the Church of St. Peter in Gallicanto today will be taken down into the basement to examine a pit carved from the rock. The pit is very small and had only one opening large enough for a person to enter it. The opening is at the top of the pit. The pit was part of the jail located there. Perhaps Jesus, being tried and condemned by an illegal makeshift Sanhedrin, meeting in the early hours, was brought to this pit to spend the next few hours. In the 88th Psalm, one can read what could have been the feelings of Jesus if indeed he was lowered into this pit. Peter denied his Lord that night. He did so, I feel, not so much from cowardice as from bewilderment and confusion. He did not know what Jesus expected him to do. Did he not get rebuked by the Lord in the Garden of Gethsemane just a short time before, when he fought for the safety and release of Jesus? Certainly Peter was confused as to what course of action to follow. Standing on the balcony of the Church of St. Peter in Gallicanto, you can see where the courtyard was that Peter denied his Lord. And as you gaze in that direction, you aren't quite as fast to point the accusing finger at the big fisherman. You can recall those times when you too denied the Lord by silence or inaction. It is one thing to find fault and blame. It is another thing altogether to take a very deep look into one's own commitment. We aren't nearly as perfect as we sometimes think we are. As you leave this beautiful little church building, you do so thinking that you need to spend more time on the log in your own eye and less on the splinter in your neighbor's eye. Jesus was speaking to each of us when he gave that advice.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
For we know that if the earthly tent we live in is destroyed, we have a building from God, an eternal house in heaven, not built by human hands. 2 Corinthians 5:1.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Ed, Wesley, and Chris, and Dr. Frank Turek joins us from the Tar Heel State. All right, Frank, you had a recent podcast about the pyramids in Egypt.
Well, we were just in Egypt. And
talk about that.
Well, a lot of people, well, not a lot, but there are several people that think, well, maybe the Hebrew slaves built the pyramids. No, the Hebrews weren't there at the time. The pyramids were built at least 1,000 years, many of them anyway, prior to the Hebrews being there.
By aliens, but go ahead.
That's right. And we think that the Exodus, according to the Bible, took place in 1446 BC. The pyramids were already established long before then. We think that the conquest began in 1406 at Jericho, and the archaeological evidence seems to show that the walls of Jericho did oddly fall straight down and out, unlike any other city in the world. Normally, when you overcome a city, you batter the walls inward. At Jericho, the only place they've ever found this was the walls just fell down and out, and so the Israelites just walked right up into the city and took it. And that's what the archaeology shows. So what about what about the pyramids though? So you're saying the Egyptians built the pyramids? How many years? Egyptians built them, or maybe they had other slaves building them, but it wasn't the Hebrews. The Hebrews weren't there at that point.
But you're saying the pyramids were already there when the Hebrews were there?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact,
go ahead.
The oldest pyramids go back almost to 3000 BC, like 2800 BC.
Wow.
And we think maybe Joseph got there somewhere between 1800 BC. That's 1,000 years later, and 1600 BC, somewhere in there.
I saw there's some guy, I forget his name. He's some Greek guy that I think is a host of some show. I don't watch these things because they're silly, but he's always talking about how aliens built everything, like the pyramids.
Right.
And I saw this funny meme someone posted, and it's this guy. And he's got his hair sticking out. I forget the guy's name, but he says, "Well, if aliens aren't real, how did they build everything?" which is just kind of circular reasoning, but because they were the reason I thought this would be good to talk to you about, Frank, is there have been some recent claims about massive structures beneath the Egyptian pyramids, and there's like a group of Italian researchers which honestly that's problematic.
It means it's a pizza oven.
Italian research.
That's what's below.
But they're claiming to have discovered
oven.
giant structures beneath one of the pyramids. And so, when I saw Italian researchers, I thought, this probably isn't going to end well. But
anyway. I tell you, I got to defend the Italian researchers right here. I don't care if they were great at making pizza. Doesn't mean they can't be great at exploring pyramids.
Well, that is true.
You can eat.
I'm a self-loloathing.
You can walk and drink and eat crust at the same time. The pyramids. How many pyramids are there, by the way?
There's hundreds.
Yeah, well, there's I can't remember the exact number. Somewhere between 100 and 200 in Egypt. Not all of them are the famous ones are the 3 Giza pyramids there, but there are other pyramids around the country.
Was it a part of the religion of the Egyptians?
Well, they were tombs for pharaohs. Yeah, that's what the pyramids were, because they thought that they had to establish what the pharaoh needed to have in the afterlife, and they also wanted to hide his body and all of the riches that they put in the tomb, because the pharaoh supposedly would take these riches into the afterlife.
Uh-huh.
And here's an interesting biblical connection. You know how the scriptures talk about God hardening Pharaoh's heart? And a lot of people have consternation with that. Well, why is he blaming Pharaoh then? Because, Pharaoh didn't have free will then. He just hardened his heart and he used him as he wanted to use him. Well, first of all, if you read Exodus, you see Pharaoh hardened his heart first, and then God completed the process, much like Romans 1 says, if you turn away from God and suppress the truth, he's going to give you up to a depraved mind and give you up to a depravity, what you want to do ultimately. But I digress. The main point here is that This hardening of the heart shows that Moses knew the Egyptian culture. Why? Because in the afterlife, a Pharaoh's heart was put on a scale against a feather. And if the heart, or if the feather outweighed the heart, meaning that the Pharaoh was a good Pharaoh, he had a light heart, then he would be admitted to the afterlife. But if the heart outweighed the feather, then his heart was devoured by a demon goddess known as Amit. And you see this in the Egyptian Book of the Dead and on some tomb walls. It's this beast that is part crocodile, part hippo, and part lion, the three most feared animals of the Nile. That demon goddess known as Amit would consume the Pharaoh's heart if he had a hard heart, a heavy heart, because it meant he was a bad guy and he wouldn't make it to the afterlife. So when Moses is saying that Pharaoh has a hard heart, he's essentially saying that Pharaoh is a bad guy, and by his own theology, he's not going to make it in the afterlife. And so you see, and by the way, all the plagues, the 10 plagues are all slams on Egyptian gods. They're not random catastrophes. They are slamming the Egyptian gods. You know, they worship the Nile, so he turns the Nile to blood. They worship the sun. He blots out the sun. They worship the Pharaoh himself. So what does he do? He kills the firstborn. There's no heir to the supposed divine Pharaoh. These are all slams on the Egyptian gods. And so when you read the book of Exodus, you're reading somebody who knew what the culture and the theology of that area was at that time.
I think Dad was really wanting to get to the aliens.
Well,
I can see his face right here.
I didn't mind listening to all that. That was good stuff right there by Frank.
But by the way, when I said hundreds, there are actually around the world, there are thousands of pyramids. But Frank's right about the Egyptian pyramids. There's 118, 135, but there are thousands. There are pyramids which you might call ziggurats in what we consider the New World. And anyway, it's just fascinating that the ancient peoples.
It's fascinating that they would have built pyramids in other parts of the world, not knowing
about the Egyptians.
The Egyptians. But
unless
I got to tell you, had HGTV been around back then with the pyramids, you know what I'm saying? They'd have had their own show about the pyramids for sale. You know what I'm saying? And showing people around.
Yeah.
Showing where they can, you know what I'm saying? Where you can store your treasures.
Yes.
You think they'd fix up one of those pyramids for a gay couple, though?
Fix around.
Back to the pyramid.
That was just wrong, Frank. We had moved on, and you brought it back up.
It's blatant, right?
Wow.
All right, Frank, what's coming up on your show this weekend, or do you know yet?
Well, we're going to probably have Jonathan Isaac on. I don't know if you know who Jonathan Isaac is. He is a forward for the Orlando Magic, a Christian who stood when everybody else knelt during the George Floyd stuff.
Yes.
And we're going to have him on because partially he came to faith through apologetics. And he stands for the truth in a difficult place to stand for the truth, the NBA. By the way, I also want to mention we are going back to Egypt and Israel in October. And so if people go to our website, crossexamine.org, and click on events, they'll see that we're going to Jordan, Israel, and Egypt this October. It's going to be a phenomenal trip. We're going to have the best guides, go to the best places. We'll see some of the pyramids, of course. We'll also see all the big sites in Israel and even Jordan. We'll visit Petra and that whole area, and we'll see if the Holy Grail is there. We'll see if Harrison Ford is still trying to find it.
So you want to go back to Egypt, huh?
Oh, I loved Egypt.
I like the way you did that.
Those leeks and those onions, you miss those, don't you?
That's right. I miss them.
That verse has always boggled my mind. Like, whoever craves an onion, like, you have to be really whiny to be like, man, I could go for an onion.
People who do.
Hey, my wife craves onion rings.
Hey, well, there you
close.
go.
Right.
Well, anytime you deep fry
that's
something,
understandable.
Yeah.
That's true.
So long, Frank. Talk to you next time.
Hey, God bless you guys. Thanks.
Okay, you too.
See
That's
ya.
Dr. Frank Turek from the Cross-Examined radio show.
He does a great job, by the way. Sometimes at lunch, since there's no hockey, I can't watch hockey highlights. I'll watch some of Frank's exchanges with college kids, and he does a great job.
You know, he talked about how the plagues were basically God going after the false gods, little g. Yeah. I'd never thought about that. I just thought that was 10 things God.
12 maybe verse 12, and maybe Exodus 12:12, where it says that God judged not only the people and the animals of Egypt, but it says he judged the gods of Egypt. And all of those, like frogs and stuff, all of those had counterparts in the pantheon. That's a Greek word, but the pantheon of Egyptian gods. And it's it's very fascinating. So
Frank's radio show is on the weekends.
Yes. Saturday at 9 a.m. Central Time, Sunday at 4 p.m. Central on AFR.
Right here.
Yes.
Right here on this radio station, Dr. Frank Turek's radio show. It's excellent, and you want to be sure to join him each weekend. When does it air again?
It airs Saturday at 9 a.m. Central and then Sunday at 4 p.m. Central Time right here on American Family Radio. And, folks, if you're interested in apologetics, Frank is awesome at that ministry. You can go to afr.net, and there's a little menu at the top that says podcasts. You can click on that and then scroll down to find I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. You can listen to all kinds of shows that are still there from past programs of Frank's, and you can get yourself up to speed on a lot of these kinds of issues and questions, answers to questions that maybe your unsaved family and friends might ask. It's a great way to kind of get your feet wet on apologetics.
So to review the heart versus feather thing, what was that? What was it? Where we ever come out on that one?
Yeah, I was.
I can tell you.
Chris was paying attention.
So
go ahead, Chris.
They put a feather on one end of the scale, and they put the heart on the other. And if the heart was lighter than the feather, that means he had a good heart.
Do you have like a referee? Is there like somebody who's like,
well,
you know what I'm saying, wearing a striped shirt, saying, "All right"?
Yeah, I wasn't there.
Put it on there because I'm ready to make a ruling.
I wasn't there, and I only have a BA in communication. But I'll tell you this: the heart weighs more than a feather. So odds are you're getting devoured by a demon god.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
You think?
You go to all that trouble.
And this demon god
build you a
was
pyramid.
I forget what it was the name of this
demon god.
Woman demon god.
It was a woman demon god, not what? Just you wanted to make that clear.
I want to make that clear.
You don't want to.
I just wanted
that the Pharaoh at his last act on earth is to be judged by a woman. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Well. Okay.
And she apparently had the something to do with crocodile, hippo, and a lion.
She was some sort of hybrid.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the politics that could get involved in that with a bigger feather, not that one.
Where's the ostrich feather?
I just can't imagine. Imagine when they first built the first pyramid. Like they were all standing out there, and then the foreman's explaining to them, "All right, I want to build a big triangle," and some guy goes, "What is that?" I mean,
Right. I know. But yeah, the Egyptians give them. Of course, you can do a lot when you got thousands of slaves.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You can be creative, and if it doesn't work, you just start over. So
we got time.
We got time, and we just. All right. So you're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Ed, Wesley, and Chris. Chris, next story, please.
Well, speaking of Egypt, they obviously had an issue thousands of years ago with anti-Semitism, and unfortunately, in the year of our Lord 2025, anti-Semitism is still an issue, even in these United States of America. Mm-hmm. Even though President Trump is still in office or back in office, anti-Semitism is still a problem. And I bring this up because on Capitol Hill today, leaders from various universities, UC Berkeley, Georgetown University, city universities of New York, you name it, they're all testifying before a House committee on their handling of on-campus anti-Semitism. Today's hearing is focusing on faculty, funding, and ideology. And I have a bit of audio here from a UC Berkeley graduate by the name of Danielle Sobkin, who says anti-Semitism on campus is nothing new. Clip 5.
Long, Jewish students at UC Berkeley are being treated as second-class citizens, and we finally have an ally in the White House, President Trump, that is taking these institutions to their accountability. It's the environment that's been fostered for decades. It's nothing new. Jewish students have been treated as second-class citizens for decades, not only at UC Berkeley, but across the country. And October 7th was a breaking point, but it's not new. And it's been rooted in the ideology, the way that we treat anti-Semitism, and the way that we foster it amongst everything that we do. But it's not just a Jewish problem, it's an American problem, because this hate goes against everything our country stands for.
Now, she mentioned it's not just a Jewish problem, it's an American problem. I can tell you from a lot of the First Amendment religious freedom attorneys and law firms that we talk to, they've often said that what people are doing to Jews, they will have no problem doing to Christians, because in the world's eyes, we're the same. So I think, Christians should be aware of and care about these matters, even though they're Jewish people.
No, I absolutely agree in this, because as Tim always points out, this is a spiritual thing. Yeah, I mean, it does have its roots in this world in certain ideologies, one of which is radicalized Islam, but cultural Marxism as well. But this is a spiritual attack, and the Judeo-Christian worldview is the target. So Jews will be targeted and Christians will be targeted as well. By the way, when I say Judeo-Christian, what I'm talking about is, is the political thought forms that came from Christianity, which came from the Jewish faith. We talk about Old Testament ideas, New Testament ideas. So I'm not equating Judaism and Christianity as routes of salvation. I just want to make that clear.
Well, listen, there are stereotypes in the world that have existed forever, having to do with all kinds of people. Ed referenced the stereotype about Italian engineers. Researchers, yeah. Which, was funny coming from an Italian.
Yes.
Coming from an Italian.
But that is true. They Italians have always been thought of as being
dumb. They're food people, though.
They're foodies.
The contributions that the Italian people have made to the world of food are probably nobody else.
And not just food, close. Art and architecture.
Yeah.
I mean, let's
right, but engineering, not so much. Right? Would you say?
I mean, that tower's still leaning.
Right. But still brings in the tourists.
Well, you got to have some. You got to have some engineering.
So here's my
to make the Colosseum.
Just respond to this, okay?
Okay.
The some of the anti-Semitism out there, by that we mean hate specifically for Jewish people, disdain for Jewish people because they're Jews, is because so the Jewish people are only a tiny percentage of the world's population. I don't know. In America, I think they're 1%.
Well, I think 2 point something
of Americans.
Yeah,
but that's of Americans. But they are, by their numbers, extraordinarily intelligent.
Yeah.
Extraordinarily innovative, business savvy. One of the old not stereotypes was the Jewish bankers,
right?
Okay, that control the world's money. Am I right?
That was an insult, a stereotype that was meant to be insulting.
But the Jewish people, as a group, know how to make money and do business on a level that's almost unparalleled. Mm-hmm. This is my interpretation here and what I've seen. So that there's a lot of jealousy and animosity towards the Jewish people because they're great business people for the most part, and so they do have an inordinate influence over business for their numbers. I'm talking about.
Right. And by the way, I looked it up. They are the global Jewish population constitutes approximately 0.2% of the world's population.
Wow. Yeah. So
that's incredible worldwide.
So now a lot of people turn that around against the Jews and say, see, they're shysters, or they control the banks and the world commerce, and they keep people oppressed. I mean, this is what Hitler did, right?
Yes.
Didn't he use these arguments? He
yes,
said
and he claimed that the communist movement was founded by Jews because Karl Marx was Jewish,
right?
And the Nazis hated the communists because the Nazis were fascists that focused on nationalism. Communists, in my opinion, are also fascists, but they want a worldwide fascism, and by that I mean the superiority of the state over everything else. And that's why the communists and the Nazis fought, is because the Nazis hated the communists because they didn't care about Germany first. They cared about the worldwide international communist movement.
But Hitler said that the Jews caused the problems post World War I.
Yes,
for the Germans. That's where he was able to convince them to put them in concentration camps.
Yeah, if you think the Jews are in charge of the international economy,
right,
and Germany is suffering, which it did tremendously economically between the two world wars. If the economy's lousy and Germans are getting hammered and Jews are in charge of the worldwide economy, then Jews are the villains.
Right, and that's what Hitler used to motivate the Nazi movement. Am I right?
Right.
Okay.
I was going to add in 1948 when that's when Israel became
a country.
Again,
yeah.
They were also, the Jews were then buying up a lot of Palestinian properties that they were willing to sell. And then once the Jews got a hold of it, after the Palestinians having it for decades, they began to develop it and grow crop and make it into a profitable.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden the Palestinians wanted it back. Palestinians wanted it back. To your point, they can take something that doesn't look like much and.
Yeah, they're the Jews are very, what do you call it?
Innovative.
Innovative and very smart people as a whole. So anyway.
How do we get here?
Well, anti-Semitism. We were talking about
Italian researchers.
We were talking about anti-Semitism in the world and why it exists.
Sure.
And maybe even outside of the spiritual dynamic, which the Bible talks about, a lot of the Jews are hated because they are God's chosen people, and so the devil, the enemy of God, wants to wipe them off the face of the earth for that reason. Am I right?
Right.
Yep.
Can I get an amen?
You get an amen.
Amen. You know what they say in some country churches, in addition to amen?
What's that?
Come on.
Come on.
You heard that, hadn't you, Brent?
I've heard it before.
You've heard it before?
Yes.
Come on. There's a guy in the back. He says, come on.
Come on.
Come on. What are you going to say?
I was going to say that's a better impersonation, though. Yours was...
He's from Boston. His was better than mine?
It was.
Wow.
It was.
Okay, then.
In my defense, Tim, I've lived here since 1985.
That's true.
So I'm catching up.
You're catching up. Your Boston accent is not as pronounced, maybe, as some who...
It's not. I can still park the car.
Right. And God.
I did in Nashua, New Hampshire. But
you can still go back.
I tell you, Noemi, it's a little fact. It's Italians.
Yeah.
Are we sitting at the bar at Cheers now? Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah. Instead of Norm, it's Ed.
Wasn't that a Boston setting?
It was.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's where everybody knows your name.
Yeah. All right. So listen. After the break, Steve Paisley Jordahl will be in the studio. We have not mentioned this, but we'll talk about it after the news, and that is the passing of Dr. John MacArthur, the well-renowned Bible teacher, and he had a very popular radio program for many years.
Written some excellent books.
Yeah.
And
had a huge following, did John MacArthur.
Yes. And John MacArthur was, and I know we're getting to the break here, but he was one of those people that he was a Calvinist, Reformed, and there are Arminians, and they clash, okay? But a lot of his writings and his books were so solid, anybody from any background would enjoy and get edified.
I've kind of learned over the years, Wesley and Ed and Chris.
What's that?
As long as the teacher or pastor is solid on their reverence for the Bible and they believe in the inerrancy of Scripture, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You can learn from them.
I can learn from them even if I disagree on something.
On their eschatology, something peripheral.
Something, yeah. But so what I'm saying is I wasn't raised a 5-point Calvinist.
Right.
But I could learn a lot from somebody like John MacArthur, who would be described as a 5-point Calvinist. I think I'm 1.5. We'll be back in a minute.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
All God asks of you is faithfulness. Headlines in USA Today, did you see it this morning? All the odds are against us. Faithfulness is the word.
There's a place for you on the battle line. Engage in the fight for America's families. Visit afa.net and then take your position. A message from the American Family Association.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. ICE responding to a Rhode Island state lawmaker who criticized their deportation effort. Molly Line has more from Boston.
Enrique Sanchez, a progressive Democrat, posted on social media Sunday claiming, quote, Nazi Gestapo ICE thugs kidnapped another, quote, neighbor in Providence. Sanchez accused the ICE, quote, thugs of damaging several cars belonging to residents and condemned ICE for a, quote, act of terror. ICE Boston officials pushed back on Sanchez's narrative, noting that the neighbor taken into custody was a previously deported, known MS-13 gang member facing fentanyl trafficking charges. ICE slammed Sanchez's comments, writing, Mr. Sanchez thinks so little of his community that he refers to ruthless MS-13 as his neighbors.
A new report alleges former President Biden's chief of staff authorized the use of an auto pen for issuing preemptive pardons for officials like former White House health advisor Anthony Fauci. The Biden White House specifically cited concerns that Republicans would target Fauci and other officials for political retaliation. Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky calling on the DOJ to launch an investigation into Fauci.
Will they try to backpedal and say Biden was somehow involved? I think that's what they'll try. But an auto pen pardon, preemptive pardon, there's a lot to go on here. The only way we could actually get this into court is hopefully the DOJ would do their job, indict Anthony Fauci for the felony of lying to Congress, and then take it to court.
Congress is set to vote on a slate of legislation aimed at regulating the cryptocurrency industry. Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty offering support for crypto regulation.
The Biden administration did everything they could to wage war on the crypto industry here in America, to shove that sort of innovation offshore. We've taken major steps here with this legislation to bring it back, to create a regulatory framework that actually works here in America.
The thin blue line is migrating to red America. The National Fraternal Order of Police says its members are moving from wounded and maligned departments in blue cities and heading to more welcoming red towns and cities. Steve Jordahl reports.
The last 4 years have been very hard on the men and women in blue. The George Floyd riots gave tacit permission for leftists, Antifa anarchists, and BLM types to violently attack officers. Woke politicians used the police brutality farce to defund their departments, and deadly ambush attacks are increasing. Randy Sutton, author of Rescuing 911, says it's no surprise that law enforcement personnel are leaving for greener, or make that redder, pastures.
We've been seeing this actually for several years. There was the defunding movement. There was aspects of the law enforcement community that were being attacked regularly by the leadership of the cities that they serve.
They're landing in red states like Texas and Florida, which went after the disaffected cops.
Florida was heavily recruiting active duty law enforcement officers to come to Florida, and they were saying, hey, come to where you're respected.
Sutton says the profession has taken such a hit that even those departments are having a hard time filling the slots.
Very difficult to be a police officer, and we've seen a downward decline of not just recruitment, but of retention of law enforcement officers. It is a national crisis.
He says some officers are looking for more rural assignments. Mayberry is a fiction, but it's still in the back of everybody's minds. But they often can't afford the move.
Now, there's also a huge disparity in pay from police department to police department. For instance, in Louisiana, base pay, you're not going to believe this, is $2,200 a month.
I'm Steve Jordahl.
And finally, a nationwide increase in deaths due to cancers linked with obesity. Lisa Brady has more.
This is House Call for Health. A study shows an increase in obesity-related cancer deaths in the U.S. The research looked at more than 30,000 deaths linked to obesity-related cancers from 1999 to 2020. The study found the age-adjusted mortality rate skyrocketing from more than 3.7 million to more than 13.5 million, tripling over 2 decades. The study also found women, older adults, Black people, Native Americans, and people in rural areas were affected most. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says obesity is connected to at least 13 types of cancer, including colon, uterus, liver, and more. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
More news online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty P.
At Wesley Biblical Seminary, we believe God is raising up a movement across our nation and around the world who hold fast to the inerrancy of Scripture and the hope of holiness. We do this through bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees, certificate programs, and even training for lay people. So whatever your next step is in being equipped for ministry, we're here for you. And if you believe these are the kind of pastors we need leading churches in the future, we invite you to think about giving to Wesley Biblical Seminary. Learn more about us at wbs.edu.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. I'm Tim with Ed and Wesley, and now we welcome Steve Paisley Jordahl.
Good morning, everybody, and afternoon.
Show. And Steve does have the very nice-looking Paisley
shirt. Thank you, Ron. The Paisley today.
You got the gold and black, and it's looking like
white.
A New Orleans Saints fan.
Gold, black, white, and gray. Silver. Looks nice.
I was a Saints fan only as long as
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr was a quarterback.
He retired.
He did.
Yeah. But so you go back to being a Raiders fan.
I was still a Raiders fan the whole time.
Will the Raiders ever come back to prominence? Because I miss those guys.
Me too.
You know what I'm saying? They were
Me too.
Watching Kenny Stabler and Freddie Blitnikoff and
man, they had some great defenders.
Oh man, the Raiders of the 70s.
Yeah, they
Cliff Branch and
he was a wide receiver.
Hendricks. What was it?
Ted Hendricks.
Ted the Stork.
Yeah.
They were.
Otis Sistrunk.
They won a couple Super Bowls, right?
Yep. They won 2 in the 7th with that set, and they won 1 in the 80s.
John Madden, how long was he their coach?
He left in like the late 70s, early 80s. Because
then he went on to broadcast fame on CBS with Pat Summerall.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Bam.
Yeah.
He was wonderful.
Tom Flores was the
guy.
Super Bowl coach that won the 2nd Super Bowl with him, or the 3rd.
You know John Madden, the legendary football coach and then CBS announcer who I don't know anybody who didn't like him calling games, right? He was great. I always look forward to him calling a game. But he would he was terrified of flying.
Yes.
That's true. He had the Madden bus.
Yeah.
He had the Madden bus, and he would take that all over it didn't matter if they were playing in Seattle and the next week they were in Miami. He was on that bus.
Yes.
Going there, huh?
And who was the main play-by-play caller that he worked with?
Pat Summerall.
Pat Summerall, yeah.
Now,
Summerall
CBS often – was it CBS they were with at the beginning?
It was CBS, yeah.
They often had the Pro Bowl in Honolulu, and he wouldn't go. You can't drive a bus there.
Wesley, let's do a baby boomer check on Wesley, our gent.
Poor Wesley.
You're a millennial, right?
That's
Is
right.
that your category? Okay, so do the names Pat Summerall and John Madden mean anything to you?
Only John Madden, and that's because when I grew up playing Nintendos, that's right, he was the front cover and the voiceover to almost
the popular video football game, right?
I would say he probably made a little bit of money from doing that.
Oh, my word.
Yes.
Because his voiceover was on all Nintendos, PlayStation.
His grandchildren's grandchildren are set for life.
Because they had a college version
they did.
with the John Madden College.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it still out today? Is it still called Madden?
It is.
Still called Madden.
And it's still like a curse to be on the cover.
That's right. Yeah, if you're the Heisman projection on the cover and then
you fade. Break your leg or something. All right, so Steve, we were talking before the before the break about John MacArthur.
Pastor John MacArthur passed away yesterday at about 6 o'clock in the evening. I had some conversations text-wise with Jenna Ellis, who was his attorney.
That's right. I forgot about that.
She represented him
battle
against
with the state of California
during the COVID. What I think will probably be his lasting legacy, almost disappointingly, because he was such a strong Bible teacher for so many years and steadfast in everything he did. It's just firmly rooted to his understanding of biblical truth, unmovable, and that is his legacy. But what he will, in fact, I was just speaking a little while ago with Dr. Richard Land, but I also had a conversation, and I can't remember who was with them. Bishop E.W. Jackson. Remember?
Sure.
Our former noontime host, Bishop E.W. Jackson.
He fills in for Jenna Ellis and did this morning. I think.
There you go. So I had a conversation with him, and we had a talk about the legacy of John MacArthur.
I think in many ways he led the way. I think he really inspired other pastors to step up and realize that we do not have to obey the government when the government is violating our commitment and our first loyalty to Almighty God, and praise God that he did, because I think he unleashed a lot of spiritual courage and energy to resist what the government was trying to do, not only in California but across the country.
He was 85 years old.
86, I believe.
86, okay.
According to Fox News, he was 86.
Okay. 86 years old. John MacArthur. He had a Bible college.
Master's seminary, and he had master's college. He started the college and then added the seminary.
Where was his church?
In Southern California, Sun Valley, which is kind of Pasadena area.
I got you.
I still two books that I still have that I read that John MacArthur wrote: The Gospel According to Jesus and The Gospel According to the Apostles. Woo, man, they were. He was such a solid Bible teacher. He did not shrink away from just saying and teaching what the Bible says. But both of those books are really strong on the expectation that you're supposed to, as a Christian, you're supposed to obey Jesus as Lord. Now, I know there's some controversies over lordship salvation and all that kind of stuff.
There is?
Well, yeah.
What is that?
Lordship salvation is the idea that you come to Jesus as Savior and Lord, and you must obey Christ if you are truly a Christian. Now, that is the counter argument to that is: are you saying that works contribute to your salvation? And I'm just going to put that out there. I'm not getting into that right now.
No, go ahead. We'll be back. Listen, we'll leave you alone. You just go for it, man.
We'll be back in 10 minutes.
But he is, let me just say at least this, he is exactly right that the expectation of the writers of Jesus himself and the writers in the New Testament is that Christians strive to obey Jesus as Lord. Yeah. And there's really no thought that a person would say, yes, I believe in Jesus as Savior, and then continue to live a sinful life. That's to me is the clear teaching of the New Testament.
One of the things that I like most about him is that later on, toward the last 7 or 8 years of his ministry, he became that much more, well, at least to my knowledge, to me, he was more vocal in things of everyday life. I guess he had a platform that extended beyond his church. And so when he would speak on issues such as what Chip and Joanna just did, Gaines.
Yeah.
And when he spoke on issues like that in response to other Christians, he didn't leave any room to have to go, what does he mean by that?
Yes.
Or why would he say it like that? Yeah. Or was he trying to pick, I don't understand. He made it to where it was crystal clear. He would be really good. I know he probably wasn't just the biggest on social media. I don't know if he was or wasn't, or maybe he had somebody that ran it for him. I know this, though. He spoke in a tweet, okay? I mean, it was crystal clear as far as what he was trying to say.
Now, his show, Brent Creeley, come on. When does his show air?
We air it weekday evenings at 10 p.m. Central. Grace to you.
Grace to you with Dr. John MacArthur. It's interesting because now he did mix it up sometimes within the evangelical Christian world.
Yeah.
He did not believe in what we do. He did
at one time.
Yes, well,
not what we do believe in. He do not believe in our mission.
Yes, he did not believe Christians should be involved in the culture
politics
or politics.
In particular.
I think it's politics.
Can I tell you the story about that?
Yeah.
Real quickly. Okay. So,
and that was at one point because, like I said, the last 7 or 8 years of his ministry was a lot different than his first.
So, because I remember, I think I wrote him a letter, or talked to somebody in his office. Anyway, this would have been back in the 80s or 90s, talking about Dr. John MacArthur. And he had written a book then called Why Government Can't Save You.
Yes.
Okay, and basically the theme of the book was discrediting Christian activism in politics. That was
it's a waste of time.
Waste of time. We need to be concentrating on the gospel message, getting that out there, and so you're moralizing. This was his approach, and it was critical. So he wrote, "Why Government Can't Save You," and of course, I don't know anybody in our movement who says government can save you,
right?
Because that's a straw man argument, which was surprising for a guy as smart as he was.
Yeah.
I understood what he was trying to say in that. Our emphasis and focus as a church should be on the gospel message.
Right.
But it's like I wrote him, part of the gospel message is, well, not the gospel message in the sense of personal salvation, but the broader Christian worldview gospel message is for Christians to be engaged and involved. And if we want to have freedom and liberty in America, we need people who we don't need to leave our elections up to just pagans.
Right.
The choice between two pagans, because they're going to come back on us.
And they did on him.
And this is what I'm getting to. So that was my argument that and a lot of people's why the. Can you remember that was the rise of what was called the religious right at the time?
Yes.
Pejoratively by the media, it was really Christian conservatives saying, hey, wait a minute, we've got to get involved in government and politics or we're going to lose our country. And so that's all that was. So there were so many people that got involved. But John MacArthur wasn't involved in this, and he was critical of it. And so that's why I disagreed with him. Now, interesting, he sort of came full circle. Now, he would say what his argument was we don't need to be involved in the government unless the government tells you must do evil.
Yeah.
Okay. Which I thought was a pathetic argument for a guy so smart.
Right.
But so unless the government tells you must do something that's against the Bible, you're not to object to them. That's what
Stay out of it.
Stay out of it. Stay out of it. But interesting, during COVID, he did the opposite. He wouldn't say I did the opposite. He would say I resisted government oppression.
The government was asking me to do something the Bible clearly asks.
That's right. And so he and his church, including Jenna, his lawyer, stood up to it, and we applauded him.
They won.
They won.
Yeah. He would say, I didn't come to government. Government came to me.
Well, there's been a couple instances though he's done that. He did that with the school, but also he did that during COVID, if you remember.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're conflating the two. I think Jenna covered his COVID.
She did.
Lockdown.
I think so.
Well, do you not remember
Yeah. 3 years
before?
The state wanted to impose something on his school.
It was the LGBT.
That's true.
Stuff.
Yeah,
that's what got him more involved in. Well, now also give him more credit than that because I listened to multiple interviews and he was on our radio network multiple times on this issue. He was actually from a systematic way backtracking. Okay.
Yeah.
He was saying to himself, okay, well, we're not going to. I'm gonna be careful putting words in John MacArthur's mouth, but I will say what I understood from him is we're not doing this because it completely violates my Christian conscience, so we're not going to do it.
Right.
However, how did my Christian conscience get violated? Okay, well, this person was elected. Well, okay, well then why don't we get involved in electing someone who's not going to violate my Christian conscience? So I do believe he got more and more involved in understanding the systematic way. Now, again, I learned a lot from him, and I just appreciate his shift. I appreciate all about him, but especially that shift of understanding that there is value and there is a call to Christians, and we're compelled by what we believe in the Bible to stand in the gap for our families, for our communities, for our country, and whatever means God's given us.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Again, when you think about somebody like John MacArthur, you have to encompass his whole life's ministry. I mean, you're talking about 50-plus years or something like that.
Yeah.
So when I'm quoting the one or two controversies, I'm not disparaging his overall ministry in any way. I'm just saying this happened along the way.
These are things people in our listening will remember.
Okay, but this is what in his book "Why Government Can't Save You," which was published in 2000, I think. He says the Lord did not come as a political deliverer or social reformer. He did not come as he did not rally supporters in a grandiose attempt to quote capture the culture for morality or greater political or religious freedom. Rather, his divine calling was to rescue the lost souls of individual men and women from sin and hell. In Why Government Can't Save You, an alternative to political activism, John MacArthur illustrates through Scripture that regardless of the numerous immoral, unjust, and ungodly failures of secular government, believers are to pray and seek to influence the world for Christ by godly, selfless, and peaceful living under the authority, not by protest against government or by acts of civil disobedience, which is what he did.
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah.
He sort of practiced civil disobedience.
Give him credit.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just saying. So I thought this book was unnecessary and too critical of our movement, coming from our brother, but because you have to be involved in politics and government, or you leave all the decisions up to the pagans.
Right.
It only makes sense.
And you also have to jettison some of the most consequential movements in world history, like the movement to eliminate slavery.
Right.
And I don't know any Christian of any stripe. I'm sure if you asked John MacArthur, I don't want to put words in his mouth, if Christians have an opportunity to vote for a bill that would end sex trafficking, are you saying that we shouldn't do it?
Right.
I don't think that he would say no. That's none of our business. So the movement to eliminate the Jim Crow laws in the South, Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. These are some of the most consequential movements in world history.
Another thing
driven by Christians.
Another thing that makes this topic far more complex is the fact that we live in a republic where you can vote.
Right. It's not a dictatorship. We can have an influence.
A lot of what was written in scriptures that he referenced as far as government, some of that only best applies when you live under a king.
Yeah, which is what Caesar was.
Yes, exactly. But when you live under what we have is an exception, which is why we call it American exceptionalism. There's a few other countries similar, but really, historically speaking, there's been none with the First Amendment, Second Amendment, and so that does matter.
I haven't read the book, and I take your reduction of it as what it says. But from what you read, my thought is that protest and like that kind of activity is not at the heart of our activism. We work within the system. You don't see conservatives blocking roadways or
right.
Or Operation Rescue did. They blocked the interest.
There's some exceptions in there.
Yeah,
true. I understand what you're saying.
Again, here's what he said. Talking about John MacArthur. This is quoting him: "To devote all or even most of our time, energy, money, and strategy to putting a facade of morality on the world, or the appearance of rightness over our government and political institutions, is to badly misunderstand our roles as Christians in a spiritually lost world." So, again, I'm just saying. Along the way, there were a few.
Right. There's the differences of opinion.
Right.
I mentioned the fact that he is from the Calvinist camp, and there are Arminians, and they're going to, guess what? They're going to fight over their particular perspectives until Jesus comes back. So Christians are going to have, listen,
Which side do you choose, Ed?
John MacArthur has been corrected.
Go for it, Ed.
I'm not taking the bait. I saw you tapping Steve on the arm and saying, "Hey, watch this."
We're going to go get the popcorn. Come back.
My sisters and I argued all the time. Okay, but we're family, and that's the way I view some of the disagreements inside the church, where people will argue and you're a heretic. No, you're a heretic. Well, guess what? Those battles are going to continue.
Well, John MacArthur, I give him a lot of credit. One, he made he made a shift more towards what, less critical of what the things we do, but also too, the core issues that were degrading America. He was very bold on.
Yeah, he was. He was on Fox News a lot, taking a righteous stand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I commend him absolutely for that.
He would take a stand against abortion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Abortion. He never said yes. Go to a gay wedding and take a gift with you. Okay,
right.
So he never said anything like that. And
yeah, no.
So give him
probably wasn't watching Chip and Joanna Gaines either at this point.
No. No. So anyway, sad, but he's 86, and so
he had a very fruitful ministry.
Celebrate his life.
Yep. Next story, Steve.
All right, Donald Trump had another victory at the Supreme Court yesterday as the justices -1. It was an unsigned order, but there was a dissent from Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
Really?
They are allowing him to carry out his mass layoffs at the Department of Education. The argument has been that only Congress can get rid of the Department of Education. I don't know that Donald Trump, I think he agrees that they can't, get rid of it. But if nobody's working in an empty building, all the workers work for him.
So the Supreme Court said that the president, the executive branch, can dismiss employees of.
Yeah. So they got an email which said the department appreciates, these are the employees, got an email and said the department appreciates your service and recognizes the difficulty of this moment. This RIF, reduction in force action, is not a reflection on your performance or conduct and is solely due to agency restructuring as described in previous correspondence.
Yeah, well, the Department of Education is notoriously far left.
Right.
Okay, and it's a bureaucracy that's unnecessary. You can take the money if you want to take the money. You can just cut the money, put the money toward our debt, or you can take the money that would otherwise go to the Department of Education from the federal government and distribute that money to the states and let them administrate it. That's the best way to go. We don't need the federal government doing anything.
Well, and it's expanded its role,
right?
Even on the local and state level,
right?
Issuing, this dictate and this dictate, and
from Washington D.C.
From Washington D.C. You're going to do this and you're going to do that,
and they're always liberal,
yes.
Always in their policy. So so we can do without the Department of Education.
Now it's not completely eliminated.
There is a Department of Education on the books. Just very few people work there.
It's going to be a quiet building.
Yes.
Okay. You're going to be able to hear the vacuum cleaner from the second floor.
Yes.
Okay. Next story, Steve.
All right.
We got 1 minute.
Yeah. Let's just talk real quickly. Good news at the United Nations. The United Nations has gotten rid of its standing committee that was critical of Israel. There was a permanent committee of inquiry on Israel under their Human Rights Council. All the members have resigned, they say, due to pressure from Donald Trump, who put one of their members on sanctions because he was a strong supporter of Hamas. The others resigned. There seems to be some sense coming back to the United Nations. The anti-Semitism is still there, but it is losing influence at the United Nations. This is a good sign.
Well, and tip of the hat to President Trump. Listen, the guy gets stuff done.
Yeah,
I mean, he just says this is the way it's going to be. He's not afraid to put pressure international organizations, like in this case. And when he does stuff like this, I just admire his work.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're listening to today's issues. Our time is. When will the music click in?
Well,
2 seconds. 10 seconds.
There
it is.
Economy is falling apart because of all the tariffs he did. Oh, wait. No.
Well, that's right.
I think
It's
everything's
not.
going great.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow on today's issues, this program, a very special edition. Ed Vitagliano will take on predestination versus the free will of man.
There you go.
Absolutely.
And
you want to stay tuned for
and
that.
he'll be here for an hour and a half.
I will settle the
and the role of women in the church.
You'll need 2 bags of popcorn for that, Dad.
Yeah, so we'll be here to cheer you on, Ed.
And then on Thursday, I will solve all the problems.
The role of women in the church.
Eschatology.
And then Friday, tongues. So stay tuned as Ed deals with all the
age-old questions that have afflicted us.
All right. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Hello, everybody. I'm Walker Wildman, Vice President here at American